is I'd like to invite Margaret to talk about. And Margaret, you're going to talk about this sort of the 4-day week in practice. And for those that don't know, Margaret Cox, the director of the ICE group in Ireland, and we'll hear about her views and her thoughts in terms of what's happening in there. So Margaret, if you may, I think you've got a couple of slides and we'll hear from you now. Thank you.
Thanks, James, and good morning to everybody in Auckland. I said to Charlotte before we started, one of my favourite cities in the world. I was lucky enough to join Andrew and Charlotte in Auckland in early March, just before the pandemic, and had a beautiful 4 or 5 days around the city. Really enjoyed my time in New Zealand. Very warm people, and it's easy to see perhaps why Andrew's experiment of the 4-day week started in New Zealand and indeed has succeeded and is leading the way across the globe. So my story is very simple, and I'll just move up these slides because actually it's gone to the end. Bear with me 1 second. And Melanie did say to us, she said to us in the beginning, are you happy enough doing your own driving? And of course I said, oh, of course we are. And now I wish I had taken her up on the opportunity of driving it. But our company, a company in the west of Ireland, a small company, 58 full-time employees. We run an agency workforce of upwards of 1,200 to 1,500 agency workers on average during the year. And we have always been in the business of what we see as changing people's lives. And we wondered, well, what's out there for us? Where can we go next? And the kind of points that Jan mentioned earlier on in terms of talent attraction and talent retention, they were two big issues for us as an organization, small organization, not one of the big multinationals. And how would we bring in great talent, we train them up, and we create this talent pool that the big organizations would swoop into, take our best people away and move on, and we would have to start again. So what we decided to do in terms of our business, I'd like to share Phelan MacDonald.
Because every year we hold a Smart Day, and our Smart Day is when we stop, we measure and review what we've achieved, and we think and we learn. We work together, and we bring everybody together from all our offices. And it's a key date in the calendar of ICE group. This year, the challenge was to improve our performance to become a world-class organization. And we had the idea that we were going to follow the tagline that we were going to be bloody brilliant.
I was actually living in New Zealand when Perpetual Guardian announced their 4-day week trial in 2018. So when I made the decision to move home, moving away from a country that really prides itself on work-life balance, I never believed that Ireland would give me the same opportunity. So a massive thank you to Margaret and Phelan and the team for making this such a huge success.
So those are two boys. Phelan MacDonald is my co-director and partner in the business. And Fiona, she said in the video, joined us from New Zealand. She had worked with us before in ICE Group, headed off to New Zealand, spent 10 lovely years, I think, there, and then eventually came back home because Irish people tend to come back home if they can. But what we realised that is, as Phelan had said, we wanted to be bloody brilliant, and we could focus on our customer if that was what we wanted to do, but we needed to focus on our staff because our customer is never happier than our staff. And what we wanted to do then is to ensure that, sorry now, apologies, next. We decided, what can we do here? And I know you're looking at this slide and you're wondering, what is this all about? But when we came up with the idea of the 4-day week, Phelan looked at me one day and he said, you know, we've been talking about this for a long time. Is it something that we can truly do? And I said, well, let's have a think about it. Let's see what we need to do. Let's work it out, see what the challenges are. And the first thing that we did is we put together a pessimist committee. And this is a picture of, you know, 3 very smart gentlemen in the UK who are working through the process of Brexit. And Brexit is a distant memory now, taken over by COVID-19. But we figured, okay, let's pull together a team of people from the organization who would be a very small core group, and we would discuss the idea, because our problem and our concern was, if we were to start talking about this idea to everybody and then decide that we wouldn't do it, we would have created a revolution and we would have lost. We wouldn't have created a revolution and won, because everybody would have been so disappointed that we wouldn't have happened, because the prize is so great. If you can do your job in 4 days, and in our case, we're slightly different to Perpetual Guardian. We work a 3-day weekend. We call ICE Group the home of the 3-day weekend. So you're either off on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or you're off on a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And you do the rest of the 4 days, that's when you do your work. You're 100% productive, as Andrew and Charlotte have spoken about. You're paid 100% of your wages. There's no deduction to your salary, but you have 3 days off every single weekend. So it's like a bank holiday weekend every weekend in ICE Group. And it was really interesting to hear Jan talk about the happiness, the happiness factor. You know, our business is customer service and sales. And if our people are happier and they're selling more, what's not to like about that? So moving on, we set up our pessimist committee, and I'll try and get the next one. We pulled all of our staff together. We created a training day and a training event about it. And one of the key things at the end of the day was we presented everybody with their own magazine, with their pictures on the cover. These are all people who work for us, and everybody brought home to their family and their friends their Person of the Year award, because they were going to become the Person of the Year in their family, in their community, with their husbands, their mothers, their fathers, their children. Everybody was going to benefit from this initiative, and they were going to become clear winners and clear People of the Year. So we shared that idea with them. The next thing that we needed to focus on was, if I move on to the next slide, how we were going to describe it. And we could have done things very flatly. We could have just talked about your Friday off or your Monday off. We needed to get through a couple of key notions, because again, we're in customer service. We have to deliver to our clients. So while we can transfer things on a Thursday to the team taking over on a Friday, or leave it on a Friday ready for the people coming in on a Monday, we needed to make sure that the commitment of 100% customer satisfaction, which is what we're about in ICE Group, was going to be delivered upon. So we don't talk about it as your day off. We call our Friday or our Monday our Genius Day. And we set up a clever calendar so that everybody could see and plan for their genius days throughout the year. But the one thing that we asked as a give back, if you like, is it is your genius day, but there may be occasions when we have to reach out to you on that genius day and we have to check something with you. We don't want to do it. We'll record the number of times that we do have to do it, and we'll try to put things in place in order to be sure that it would actually change in the future. So that brought a little bit of excitement. You know, everybody loves talking about their genius days. You come back in on a Tuesday and the chat starts happening. Well, what did you do at the weekend? Because we have now 2 bank holiday weekends to talk about in terms of the people who are off from Friday or the people who are off on Monday. So that was another very exciting part that we thought was important in terms of the initiation and the implementation. Then the next thing was this concept of the 3-day weekend, and again, what that meant for companies or for people, and what they did was, some people went back to college. Some people played more golf. That was generally the men, I have to say. They got more golf time. The ladies got more time to sort of take care of household management chores and have more free time than at the weekend to spend on fun things for themselves, or if they had families, fun things to do with the families. Saturday wasn't the stay at home, do the shopping, do the washing, do the housework, clean the house from top to bottom. Saturday now became a day of leisure, the way it's supposed to be. So we had that 3-day weekend, but we had it every single weekend. So we have the benefit of feeling so energized, so focused, and so enthusiastic every day we come back to work after the weekend. The next thing that we looked at was, from a business point of view, What were our targets? How would we know that this was a success? Because it's all great and everybody can go away feeling happy. But if we're not, from a business point of view, successful, it's not sustainable. And we're back into that conundrum. Do we go back to a 5-day week? Do we reduce wages? Or how are we going to manage it? So our target was to maintain our productivity, maintain our sales, and maintain our costs. And we were targeting to reduce attrition, short-term absences, and staff travel time. And they were very clear objectives that we shared with everybody, and we were very clear about from the very beginning. And I think I have a video coming up next, and my mouse has disappeared on me, so bear with me for 1 second.
It's phenomenal. You come in on a Monday morning, or people come in on a Tuesday morning, and they're, as they say in one of our teams, they're focused, energized, and happy. They want to get their work done. They work hard when they're here, and then they go and live a great life when they're out of here. 2019 has been our best year ever for productivity, for profitability, for happiness. The only thing I wonder is why I didn't do this 10 years ago.
And Andrew and Charlotte both know Phelim very well. And in fact, the whole office wonders why he didn't do it 10 years ago too, because it would have been an awful lot of energy in our office, and we would certainly have enjoyed it. So let's just look at, you know, what did actually happen. So our wellness scores, and you can see them there. We moved from a 25% score to a 32% score in we are more relaxed. We feel more cheerful. If you look at the bottom score on the right-hand side of the screen, from 60% to 84%. We are more confident, from 45% to 64%. We feel really good about ourselves, 48% to 76%. We have more energy to spare, 14% to 39%. And we are feeling closer to other people, 54% to 68%. So that deals with the wellness side of the house. And then the next thing that we actually looked at, well, what does it mean from a business point of view? 27% increase in productivity, 20% decrease in staff travel time, 0 unplanned attrition, 3 days short-term absences in a 6-month period, 12% decrease in cost, and the final incredible celebration, a 30% increase in sales. So for us in ICE Group, it's been a remarkable journey. We started it with our trial on the 1st of July in 2019. We came in with a commitment to adopt it formally from the 1st of January in 2020. COVID hit. We've been looking at it, holding very firmly on to the idea that we can, even through a pandemic, we can hold on to that 4-day week. We've managed it. And we believe that the kind of engagement that you saw on the previous slide, the kind of results that you're seeing on this particular slide here, is what's allowed us to move through this pandemic as a business and to come out the other side, not just surviving, but ready to start to grow again. So back to you, James. That's, I suppose, my thesis for this evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Margaret. And if anybody's on the call and still thinking why you would do this, after hearing that, I'm still bemused, if I'm honest. A fantastic sort of summary, really, I suppose, of the way that the business has actually gone about this. And obviously the fact that you mentioned clearly, you know, why didn't we do this 10 years ago? And I think it's just one of those things, isn't it, that we have a way of doing, and we do generate productivity, we do generate output. But sometimes we work too much sometimes in the business and not on the business. And we don't necessarily take time to think about ourselves, our family, and then our community, which obviously is the wider conversation. And some of the notes I just wrote down there in terms of like the attrition and the employee engagement and the wellness and the happiness of people when you give them the opportunity to take a little bit of ownership and control back. One of the questions, though, Margaret, that's come through, and Charlotte would probably be able to, and Andrew, I'm sure as well, would be able to talk to this, is when you were thinking about this, and obviously you were talking about Mondays and Wednesdays or Fridays or whatever the day may be, in certain countries around the world, bank holidays tend to fall on particular days. How did you manage, or how did you address that if people were actually taking a particular day off that fell on a bank holiday? How did you manage that, overcome that? It would be interesting for the people on the call to just understand that a little bit more, if it is possible.
Sure, James. And you know, this was the pessimist committee. Thanks be to God for them, because they started to come back with all these reasons why it wouldn't work. And the very first reason they came up with was, what will we do on a bank holiday? It was like, would you ever shut up? You know, you're getting a chance to have a bank holiday every weekend. What are you really worried about? And then we sat down to think about it, and we realized genuine concern. So what are we going to do about it? So in the week of a bank holiday, and in general, there are 9 bank holidays in Ireland, and 7 of them fall on a Monday. I think there's only 2 floating, there's 3 floating days, St. Patrick's Day and St. Stephen's Day and Christmas Day. So the other 6 are fixed, and they're fixed on Mondays. So in those weeks of the 6 days, everybody works 4 days that week, and we all take the bank holiday on the Monday. And that settled it. And another interesting thing that we did was, and this is really important, because managing the training and development as part of your performance management and part of your employee development, that was very difficult, because now you were taking training days away from a 4-day week, which is busy. I mean, let's not fool ourselves that it's not a very productive and focused week. So what we did is we've also ring-fenced 6 of our Genius days in a week, and said that those days will be allocated to training and development. It may be a company meeting, the Smart Day that Phelim talked about, which is an annual training day that we hold. It's a company-wide initiative, or other training and development that people may have to do during the work week. So if you're doing some training and development in a week, and we use your Genius Day, then you may have to work in that week between training and the office. You may have to be available for 5 days. But again, the engagement and the commitment was there from the employee's point of view.
And I think from our position, so Margaret has the whole day off, which is, you know, so therefore it's a lot more regular as to what might happen. With us, of course, our days are throughout the week, and people, we work a reduced hours work model rather than a particularly one day off. But don't forget, this is a conversation about productivity and about, you know, making sure you are achieving your objectives each week and each month. And so generally it becomes very self sorting by the staff. And I said to one of our staff members about this recently, and you know, sort of, because they have quite a complex way that runs within their team, and I said, isn't that just a nightmare to try and understand what's happening and who's doing what? He goes, well, it was a little bit more you know, a little bit of an issue at the beginning, but otherwise, he says, it just doesn't come up anymore. We're clear about why we're here, we know what we have to do to be productive, and we just get on with it. And that's the pact between your staff and you. They're there for a productive, you know, productive result. You're paying them for it. Doesn't really, the times are relevant now.
And I think also, Charlotte, as well, that I think one of the things I really liked is the communication between yourself and Andrew actually throughout the business. And you know, regardless of you know, the role or the seniority, people really understood the position and the role they actually played in maintaining the business or creating more productivity within the business as well. So they feel empowered. And then once you introduced, obviously, this as a concept, I think they felt more empowered. And I think that's something that we do need to bear in mind, that good communication throughout the business and the business layers becomes very, very important as we discuss, obviously, the
communication is key. and with your clients too. And with your clients too.
Correct, because obviously, you know, you're changing your business model, which they sometimes will obviously need to adapt to that as well. Yeah, thank you, Margaret. Great insights, and lots of people talking about your accent on the call as well. So thank you for that.